And hello, this is Michael Lodge on the WBT coming to you from Palm Beach, Florida. Currently we're having a bundle of storms come through. I had to kind of wait here. I didn't know if I was going to have to shut down my computers or not because, we get these big, strong thunder, lightning storms that come through. Make a lot of noise, and I never know when that lightning is or where it's going to strike. So I tend to, just to be on the safe side, I kind of shut it down. I shut down my systems because I never know what's going to happen. I would hate to have one of my computers to be burned out. Even though I've got surge protectors and batteries and everything hooked up to these computers, I still feel as though I've got to protect them. Maybe it's just old school. And probably it is old school because I'm old. But I just shut them down because I feel as though something's going to happen at any given time. I got a whole bunch of sets of computers. Like right on my desk, I've got 3 computers, 3 screens. Some of it's running business software and financial software. Some of it's running communication software. I got a whole bunch here. And then out on my conference room, I've got a whole new set of computers and stuff that I use like when people come in and we have to mediate or negotiate in the conference room because they feel more comfortable with that. But I want to tell you something. With this COVID thing, it has really changed our working ability as business people, and especially for me as mediators. I do most of my mediation now. I do most of it virtually. So everything's done on the internet. I've got all my rooms set up. I've got the conference room set up online. Everything's done there virtually. I prefer having people in front of me because I can read their expressions better and kind of get a feel of that individual. On video, it's a little bit more difficult, but I'm getting used to it. I've been doing conferencing like this for a long time, but not for really in-depth mediation. I tell you, I do a lot of business mediation, and that's what I try to focus on. But since COVID, in the last few days and weeks, I have been getting a lot of requests for divorce mediation or separation mediation. And my gut feeling is it's because of COVID. Everybody's been locked down together. They've been too close to each other. They've had to see each other every single day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Excuse me. And they've gotten to the point where they said, okay, enough is enough. I can't stand this person any longer. And they say, okay, fine, I want a separation. Let's go into therapy. Or just plain, let's get a divorce. So an amazing situation. I had the same situation happen during the years when we went under lockdown, but it was in the years where everybody was buying real estate, right? Everybody was out there. They were buying 3 and 4 properties, 5, 6, 7 properties, putting it on these loans that were lie loans at that time when no one had to really prove exactly how much they made or what their net worth was. So we had a full year of that. It was just like going like gangbusters. Mortgage bankers were making tons and tons of money. Well, then that died. Everything died. And then my clients were coming into me, husbands and wives, and they were having to go through bankruptcy. Well, if you've ever gone through a financial stress situation in your marriage, you know how bad it is. It puts a lot of stress, and the communication process really gets disrupted. In fact, it becomes downright mean. I know, I've had them. So the first year, everybody was out there buying houses. The second year, everybody was declaring bankruptcy or losing their houses. The third year, a slew of divorces. I had so many clients going through divorces because that financial stress just killed them. The communication process, the caring about each other, the love about each other, it was all gone out the window. because the financial stress just kicked them to the curb. And so I saw a lot of that. I remember going through it so much. And then I began to wonder, as people began calling me over the last 2 and 3 weeks for divorce and separation mediation, I bet you we're going through the whole damn thing again, where people have just had enough of this COVID. The mental stress is killing them. Seeing each other every single day, talking about the same old thing every single day, their finances becoming a stress upon them. So finally, at one point in time, they say, okay, enough is enough. We just can't take it any longer. I had a really nice guy call me today. We spent about 45 minutes on the phone talking about the situation between he and his wife, encouraging him to keep up the communication process. And I've noticed that in every one of the mediations that I've done on divorce and separation, or I should say separation and divorce, that's the way it goes, that the biggest issue that I saw is that people had a communication process. Some of it good, some were really good, and some were really bad. Some were really angry at each other. They were taking it out on each other. So I thought today, maybe it's about time, because I've already talked about separation and how to go through separation. There's one other aspect about it, is the communication process that you and your loved one or former loved one have to go through. This happens also in business too, but it also happens in divorce, separation. First comes the separation, where you decide to separate from each other, and there has to be a communication process, especially if you have children. It's vital. So there's something that you really need to take into consideration when you're going through the separation, and when you're talking about the communication process, because you don't want it to get angry, even though you are angry. You don't want it to get angry. And if you've got children, you got to be very careful about what you say about the other partner. And one of the things is that you've got to focus on the issues at hand. Divorce and separation, they can be messy, and sometimes there is just no way around it. Well, dividing assets and debts and establishing legal decision making for minor children, known as custody. Who's going to get custody? What is going to be the home that the children are going to be staying in? Are you going to share it? So emotions may be heightened, and people, well, they do lose their tempers. And because of the nature of divorce, there's a lot of bitterness. Not me, but there is bitterness. I've seen it, I've heard it, almost felt it. So there's bitterness and there's frustration about past grievances in your relationship. So during conversations, it is often easy to lose track of what the discussion is really about, and you begin to start arguing about other things. The temptation to pile on while having discussions or disagreements is one that needs to be avoided for the best communications or the better communications between the two of you. In order to effectively and efficiently communicate during divorce and separation with spouses or boyfriends or girlfriends that you're separating from, communication needs to remain focused on the issue at hand and refrain from arguing or calling people names about other things. Focus on the issues at hand. The other issue is that you need to consider your tone. I'm often listening to the tones as people are talking about the divorce and what they want to do within the divorce and the separation, with the children, with the cars, with the jewelry, with the 401k plans, everything else. The tones get nasty. Very nasty. So while communicating with your spouse during divorce, it's going to be tempting. It is so tempting to be sarcastic, raise your voice, make your voice so loud that you drown them out while they're talking, or use a mimicking voice. Frustration and anger coupled with familiarity often makes people feel comfortable using these tones against their better judgment. They're not thinking the process through. It is important, even if angry, to try to avoid using these tones. Even in retaliation is inappropriate and will lead to ineffective communication. Speak to your spouse the way you would like to be spoken to. By doing this, you foster an atmosphere for open and respectful communication. And that is much more helpful to the process of separating and divorce. It's much better than the harsh tones and the hurt feelings. The other issue is that you've got to learn to listen. Listen to what the other side is saying, because there might be a point in what they're trying to tell you that you can negotiate on. And it might be better for you. It might be an opportunity for both of you, or for you. You might see possibilities there if you listen a little bit. Because listening is where you get to the guts of what's being said. Listen without having to say anything. Listen to gain information. If you're going to talk over them or talk above them and try to drown them out, you're not going to be able to learn whatever opportunity the other person is trying to say. Communication, when you are trying to negotiate and trying to get a fair deal for everybody, you have got to listen. Shut your mouth and just listen. Shut your mouth and don't argue. Listen. Because that's the only way you're going to look to see if there is another possibility that the other side is trying to tell you. And a lot of the times, let me tell you, a lot of the times what the other person is saying is exactly what you're saying, but just in a different way. I always, in my mediation, I give my clients in front of me, I give them a piece of paper and I say, I want you to write down the 4 issues that's important to you. So they write them down. What's interesting is that after they've written them down and they've read them off, 3 out of the 4 is usually the same issue on the other person's side. So then all of a sudden you just have one issue that you have to deal with. Listen. If you are in business, listen. If you are a minister in church, listen. If you are a counselor, listen. If you are an accountant, listen. If you're a tax guy, listen. If you're going through divorce or separation, listen. Listen to the other side. And refrain from any name calling and being angry or anything else, because what you're doing in mediation is sitting down and planning out your future. So you better be listening and you better be saying the right things. It's up to you. If you want a dirty divorce, act dirty. Act stupid. If you want a nice, clean divorce, where it's going to be fair to all parties, learn to listen, learn to negotiate, and learn to be able to give and take. The third thing that I'm going to tell you is very important. One important thing to do when going through a divorce is to take advantage of the services of a mediator. An experienced mediator will be able to offer guidance and support for both parties involved. They're not taking sides, they're there to listen, and they're there to guide. They're not there to give you legal advice, that's up to your attorneys, but they're there to guide you through the process of going through a divorce. The discussion, the negotiation, the agreement. They are impartial. A mediator is impartial and will listen to every side of the story and will help encourage everyone to communicate respectfully. Key word, respect. Sometimes when tensions run high, it is easiest to use an impartial third party as a mediator to keep communication running smoothly, rather than relying on the individual going through the divorce who may be hurt, sad, or angry, pissed off. A mediator, a divorce mediator with backgrounds in business and in taxation and maybe a little psychology and counseling, maybe a little law, will ensure that the best communication possible happens during the separation and the divorce process. And the other issue that is really important to me is when there are children involved. Communication is so important because the children are already going through this anxiety of being pulled apart from both parents. So there's got to be consistency. Consistency in homework and consistency in what is good and bad for the child. Consistency in making decisions for those children together because you're still their parents. Consistency. Be consistent in everything that you do with those children. If they've got homework and they're going to the other parent's house, that homework had better be done. You had better not be going out and play until that homework is done. Consistency. Consistent in communication, consistent in action with those children is very, very important. And you can work it through. If you feel that the other side isn't fulfilling their responsibility and being consistent with those children, you better sit down and you better talk about it. Better hire the mediator, bring him in, talk about it. Consistency. So that's it. I just thought I had better talk about that because I'm seeing a lot more mediation in the divorce area, especially in the separation. I've had 3 separations this week where both sides wanted to separate and just have a little bit of freedom while they go through marriage counseling and therapy. We are human beings. We're not perfect in any given way, especially me. You can ask anybody about me and they will tell you, oh, that Mike Lodge, he's not perfect. I can guarantee you he's not perfect. But even though we're not perfect, we can work on trying to do what is right. Using the right communication through a separation and divorce. Using the right communication and being consistent with our children through a separation and divorce. If you can work on those issues and focus on those issues, you're not going to have so much stress in your life. It will not be a situation of chaos. You're not going to feel as if you're in a tabloid show. And listen, I'm going to tell you this also. You don't have to talk to everybody about your divorce. Because I'm telling you, once you start talking so much about your divorce, a lot of mean things come out. And there might be a child that's sitting by. Might not be your child, might be somebody else's child that's friends with your child. And that little child might go to your child and say, you know what your mom said about your dad? You know what your dad said about your mom? You don't need to tell everybody about your divorce, because there are little ears and there are big ears that go around and repeat exactly what you've said, because human beings are just that stupid way. Listen, if you need help, or if you want to talk about it, if you want to have a little consult about mediation and separation and divorce, send me a text. 818-252-5682. Again, that's 818-252-5682. Go to my website also, www.lodge-co.com. See what I'm all about. See what's there. Buy some of my books. I only have 3 of them. But let's focus on this communication during a tough time. It really does help if you focus on it. I want to see success. I want to see all of you success. Even though you think you're going through a bad time at the moment, you never thought you were going to, I bet you've even said this, I never thought this was going to happen to me. Well, it did. But you can make it through. You can negotiate a good separation and divorce situation, and you can move on with your life. Or you can go through marriage and family counseling and rejuvenate your life. You have a whole bunch of choices. It's up to you. Again, my text is 818-252-5682. Everybody go out and have a great day today. I'll talk with you soon. This is Michael Lodge. Bye-bye. This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content. Go to my website at www.lodge-co.com. Everybody go out and have a great day. Success is around the corner.